everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. And the first couple of news stories here are thanks to The Drive. So they, this week, put out a couple of new reports here on the GR Corolla and the manual Supra. And so this is just a bunch of rumors still, and these rumors are coming thanks to a source they have within Toyota's dealer network. So, still take this stuff with a grain of salt because none of these reports match up perfectly either. But anyway, so first we get to the GR Corolla stuff. So part of it is just their source confirming a lot of the stuff we've already heard and stuff that Toyota has already kind of confirmed with the teaser images, meaning, it's going to have all the GR Yaris stuff with the all-wheel drive system from the GR Yaris, the manual transmission, and the turbo 3-cylinder engine. But they did add some new information here, so that's why I'm kind of covering this here. So speaking of that engine, though, brief aside, there's another report that Motor Trend did with a source they have, and their source is claiming, then this is new information to me, that the motor could do more power than it does in the GR Yaris, and that the power could go up to 296 horsepower potentially, which kind of really spins it in a different direction, because I was originally thinking, it'd be like 268 horsepower or whatever the GR Yaris is. That makes it like a WRX competitor. But if we're closer to 300, then you're kind of getting it, pretty close to an STI and like a Golf R competitor. And considering the pricing they're talking about, which I'll get to here in a second, this could be a real performance bargain. So we'll have to see. But anyway, both the Drive and the Motor Trend reports claim it's going to have a wide body look, of course. It's going to, we kind of saw that a little bit with the teaser images. It's going to be more aggressive looking, obviously. And so, of course, we'll have better handling. But so according to the dealer source, I believe from the Drive, they're saying that it's going to, one, be hatchback only, which I think we already all assumed. But also they're claiming that it's going to have a unique 3-tip exhaust on it. But Motor Trend's report is claiming it's only going to have a dual-tip exhaust. So this is where I'm saying they're kind of still a little iffy with these reports. But anyway, could potentially have an interesting exhaust setup here, kind of like maybe the Civic Type R with its 3 exhaust tips. The Drive source also says there's a possibility it could be called the Corolla GR4 instead of GR Corolla. The GR4 is referencing the all-wheel drive system. I feel like that would be kind of confusing for American consumers because, they would see the GR4 and then you tell them it's a 3-cylinder engine. They're like, well, then why is it called the GR4? Obviously, it's for the all-wheel drive system, but I just don't know how well that would translate with focus groups and stuff like that here in the States. We'll see what they do with naming, but I still think GR Corolla is the more likely name here for the States. But anyway, the last little bit of info here actually comes from a different report from Japanese media. They're talking about pricing, and they're saying it could fall in the mid-$30,000 range, which really would be exciting. If they truly even could hit, 35 grand, for example, that then puts you 10 grand under a Golf R, and yes, you have 20 less horsepower than a Golf R, but if performance is pretty similar, that could be pretty enticing, especially, you consider even a mid-grade WRX is probably going to run you 35 grand. So if you get this with almost 300 horsepower, and it's a hatch, which with all-wheel drive, which is everything Subaru buyers have been crying out to Subaru for years, this could be the perfect WRX hatch in a way. So we'll see about all that. But yeah, I'm excited, and depending on how they price it, it could really be a screaming performance bargain potentially, especially if it does that much power. So very exciting to hear those new little rumors. As for the manual Supra rumor here, so we've been hearing a lot of these rumors ever since the Supra even went into production. We've been hearing about there being a manual Supra and in the works, and it was actually confirmed by the chief engineer that they had a working prototype. They just didn't know if there would be demand for it. There was also talk of the manual not being smooth enough for what they wanted for the Supra. There's a bunch of various stuff. So the excuses were kind of all over the place. It seems like there's a lot of passion within Toyota to get this out and get it into the public, though, which I totally commend them for. So the newest rumor here, again, from the Drive's dealer network source here, claims that the manual Supra has been confirmed finally. It is actually truly happening, according to this dealer source. And they said it could arrive as soon as this year, but that's not a guarantee. Same thing with the GR Corolla. They couldn't nail down an exact timeline. They said they're expecting it sometime this year, but they couldn't say definitively. So, still seems like they're a little foggy as far as all the info. But Anyway, just good to hear that potentially this thing is actually coming. I'll believe it when I see it, though, because we've been hearing this for years. In the past, rumors, have been all over the place as far as what gets the manual. First, it was the 2-liter Turbo 4 version. That would get the manual because that has a manual with a Z4 in Europe. So that was the thing. But then they were like, well, what about the 6-cylinder? Supposedly, Toyota employees really wanted it to be a manual with a 6-cylinder. There was talks, I think, last year that the GRMN version of the Supra, or whatever that ends up, being, that would use the M3's S58 motor, and that obviously is paired up with a manual in the M3, and that, that is the only combo that would have a manual for the Supra. But other reports here now kind of making it seem like the manual would be on the table for all Supras. Again, it's anyone's guess at this point, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. There's just yet another claim here that this is actually coming. So if you are someone who's really holding out hope for a Supra manual, you got a little bit more hope this week. Hopefully these things actually do happen, but very interesting to hear that. For some official Toyota news here, though, there's lots of teaser images this week. So Toyota has teased the new Sequoia officially with 2 close-up shots here, and they've announced that thankfully we don't have a long time to wait for the reveal. They're going to reveal it this coming Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. So I'll be covering all the details on it next week, and it's great that we don't have some long drawn-out teaser thing and we don't have long to wait. It's just, hey, it's coming out next week. Cool. Nice and easy and simple. Aston Martin also has teased a version of the DBX that they claim will be the world's most powerful luxury SUV. And so there's a short teaser video on YouTube I'll link above. And in that video, it definitely sounds like it has a V8. It almost sounds like an old school muscle V8. It's like very aggressive sounding, and that's kind of surprising for one, because a V12 DBX was kind of in the talks and rumors and stuff, and kind of would make more sense, especially if they want to hit that power number. It'd be much easier to do that just by dropping the V12 in and calling it a day, honestly. But and that also would give it a key differentiator from all the other competitors, which are just V8s. Everything in this super SUV segment is V8. So V12 would have been a lot cooler, but sounds like we're going to get a V8, unfortunately. Still is cool, though. Now, as far as what power it would have, in order for it to beat, I think the current king is the Porsche Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid, which is 670 horsepower. So it's got to be more than 670. That means, it'll probably use some version of the AMG GT, twin turbo V8, and that does up over 700 horsepower, I believe, in the black edition version of the AMG GT. But for that black series, I think that's a little more high strung than what people are willing to put up with in a DBX, I'm guessing. So it could even use a plug-in hybrid setup like you get in the e-performance stuff Mercedes is doing. It could be anything like that. So we'll just have to wait and see. But thankfully, we don't have much longer to wait for this one either. So they say the full reveal will be happening on February 1st. So I'll be covering that here in about 2 weeks. Speaking of fast SUVs, though, another quick teaser and turnaround for the reveal comes from Cadillac. They've teased the Escalade V, and there's a quick video here which I'll play now. So I film these weekly updates on Thursdays, but on Friday morning here, they just posted up all the pictures here of the Escalade V. So we now know how it's going to look, but they did say that we're not going to have any specs or any other additional details until this spring. So I'm just going to talk about the teaser images here, and then we'll talk more in the spring. But as far as how it looks, I think it looks pretty good, but not quite as aggressive as I was honestly expecting out of, Escalade V. But, you can see there's some bigger brakes there hiding behind the wheels, and, the unique aero stuff you have going on here with it. So we'll just have to see, what they end up doing powertrain wise. And they did also, along with those images, reveal another little teaser video which shows the vehicle. And so I'll play that now. So yeah, and it could be something as awesome as potentially even having the 650 odd horsepower supercharged V8, although that engine didn't sound supercharged in that teaser. So we'll have to wait and see. And Volkswagen has also teased a new Golf variant that's presumably going to be faster here. And they kind of did a funny little post where they said they're launching an NFT in February, but in parentheses they said that NFT stands for notably fast transport. So this could be like a TCR version of the GTI. That's something they always have done here in the past few generations. So that's likely. There's also been a lot of rumors in the past about some kind of faster Golf R. There's been talks of like a 400 horsepower Golf R kind of variant running around. That's something they really wanted to do. And, that's been in the rumor mill for a couple of years here. So maybe that's what this finally is. Anything's really possible here, aside from the fact that I think Audi has firmly denied it'll ever get the 5-cylinder. That is an Audi exclusive thing. So don't hold hope for that. But apparently that 2-liter turbo 4 motor can do up to 400 horsepower in past things that they've toyed around with. So, could be that too. We'll have to wait and see. We don't have long to wait for that because that's also, they said, coming out in February here sometime. So we'll be covering that here in a couple of weeks. Porsche this week had 2 official reveals, and they're actually full reveals, not teasers, thankfully. So, first off, they showed the other variants of the Taycan Sport Turismo. Unfortunately, though, these versions are only for Europe. We only get the GTS version here in the States. But if you're in Europe, you're going to be able to enjoy the Taycan Sport Turismo in all the Taycan variants, from the base all the way up to the Turbo S. They're all going to be available here with the Sport Turismo body style here, which, looks awesome. They all look great. I'm just thankful we get the Sport Turismo at all, though, so I'll take it with the GTS version here, but very cool to see that for the rest of the world. And Porsche has also revealed the 911 Edition 50 Years Porsche Design. So it's a very long name, but it basically celebrates 50 years of Porsche design, with the watches and the shoes and all that kind of stuff. They're celebrating 50 years of that. And so the car starts with a Targa 4 GTS. It adds unique touches like satin black accents on like the roll hoop and the wheels, various places like that. The wheels there are the center lock Turbo S wheels, by the way. You also get unique badges that number the car. There's various little trim pieces that are different and stuff, but all just very minor stuff like that. Only 750 of these are going to be made, by the way, and they all come with a Porsche design watch inspired by the original one from 1972, and they'll be arriving here this spring. The Tokyo Auto Salon was last Friday, and so there was a bunch of cool debuts that I missed after I filmed last week's update here, and so I wanted to cover a couple of those here. And so the first one that was really pretty sweet was the GRMN version of the Yaris here, which is only for Japan, but only 500 of these are going to be made, and it's so limited that those 500 will actually be rewarded to reservation holders through a lottery system. So not only do you have to actually want to buy one of these, and they're not cheap, by the way, they're about $64,000 with a conversion rate, but you have to be selected via a lottery to get the chance to spend 64 grand on one of these GRMN Yarises. So very tough to get one. But anyway, as far as the upgrades here for the GRMN version, it gets a carbon fiber hood, new Recaro seats, and has more rigidity all over the body, they say, along with getting rid of the back seats and the infotainment system for a weight loss of 66 pounds. Power is still the same, though, so there's no extra punch there, but the lightweight stuff's definitely going to help. And there's also a circuit package you can get, which will also add extra aero pieces, Bilstein dampers, slightly bigger brakes, and BBS 18-inch wheels. It also gets a stronger and closer ratio 6-speed manual transmission with a lower final drive and mechanical LSDs that replace the torsion limited slip diff. And so all very promising improvements there. And so those don't come cheap, though. Again, $64,000 is the starting price, and if you want that circuit package, that's going to jack the price up. I believe it's over into the 70s. So very, very expensive. Exchange rates don't often reflect the accurate price of what things would be priced at here in the States, but still, it's just those diehard fans in Japan are paying big money for these Yarises, and so I'd still love to try one someday, though. Even just the regular GR Yaris seems like it's an absolute blast, and hopefully we have a similar experience with the GR Corolla eventually. Also, the Toyota has revealed the BZ4X GR Sport concept, which unfortunately only adds bigger wheels and tires, sports seats, and a unique paint job. It's the typical kind of dress-up stuff, which is pretty common for the Tokyo Auto Salon, but just kind of cool to see, I guess, how a sportier version of the BZ4X could look. Subaru also revealed their version called the Solterra STI concept, and sadly, not a true STI at all. It's more of like an STI Sport, which is often something they've used in Japan just for the sportier styling, but no extra power. And this one, gives you the aero kit, so a little bit more than what the Toyota gives you. You get a bigger spoiler there in the back and unique 20-inch wheels and tires. And, it would be cool, though, to see some type of concept where the Subaru and the Toyota get the 400 horsepower setup that's rumored to be coming in the Lexus RZ. And so we'll have to see if that does actually materialize. But in the meantime, meantime, yeah, just kind of funny to see these vehicles a little bit dressed up here. The more exciting Subaru reveal, though, this really was a huge surprise. They were teasing this new thing called the ERA, and it was kind of like, this mystery with this shadowy image, and now they fully revealed it, and it's this EV race car, and it's built in partnership with Yamaha to pursue a record-setting lap at the Nürburgring with the aim to beat the 911 GT2 RS's 6-minute 40-second lap. And this car should have plenty of power, so it should be easy to do as far as that part goes. Running 4 in-wheel electric motors for a total of 1,072 horsepower, along with 4-wheel torque vectoring as well. And testing will begin in Japan this year, and they'll start running on the Nürburgring in 2023. And they also say they're using it to gather experience with new technologies in the world of motorsports for the carbon neutral era. So 2 other thoughts I had about this car whenever I first saw it. First was, why does an EV race car need an enormous roof scoop? I feel like, with the in-wheel motors, they would be cooled by just being in the wheels there. So maybe it's just for the battery pack to keep it cool. It's only a 60 kilowatt battery pack, though, so it's not like it's crazy with its size or anything. But that was just kind of interesting. The other interesting thing, though, is that this car has mid-engine proportions. And the styling and the proportions seem a little similar to me to the Toyota MR2 electric concept that was revealed a few weeks back, whenever Toyota did all their reveals of all their electric cars they're planning here. And I'm wondering if Subaru partnered up with Toyota again for this sports car, and if this, STI thing here is kind of a test bed for a racing version of that, and that racing version will also have a production vehicle with the MR2 and Subaru having some type of crazy mid-engine thing. If Subaru is planning to do some type of electric, kind of mid-engine proportion thing, I'm getting my vote in early. I vote that they call it the SVX. I think they should bring back the SVX name. That would be super cool, and just would be just a fun little throwback. And anyway, but yeah, let me know what you think about that theory in the comments below. But could make sense if Toyota and Subaru love working together on sports cars. Do it again for an MR2 and whatever Subaru wants to call theirs, and could be cool. The more sports cars, the better. I don't care if they're partnerships or not. It all sounds good to me. BMW this week has announced some sad news, and that is that they're producing the final V12 powered BMW here in June. And it'll be, of course, an M760i, because that's the only BMW that gets the V12 anymore. And to celebrate its final run, there will be a final V12 edition, which basically just gives you a bunch of fancy badges. There's an extra V12 badge on the back, unique wheels, door sill plates, engine cover, that kind of stuff. The real thing about this car is going to be its exclusivity. So only 12 of these will be built for the United States, and there's a badge on the inside showing which of the 12 you are as well. And those cars will be going to select BMW clients who have a long history of V12 7 Series ownership. So it'll be very exclusive, but it doesn't sound like you really get much aside from the fact that you have one of the last 12. Otherwise, it's the same as any other M760i. So still kind of sad to see that go out, but it hasn't been a surprise. And if you still want a BMW engineered V12, you got to just step up now to the Rolls-Royce models that run that. But so interesting to hear that. And lastly, the last news story here is some good news, actually. So Subaru has closed the order books for the 2022 BRZ, but it's for a good reason. It's because they're selling so hotly that it sounds like they've essentially sold out the 2022 model run. Basically, this kind of came through the forums, the FT86 forums, and then Subaru's spokesperson kind of confirmed this. But there was a dealer communication that went out saying that demand is consuming our expected supply well into the future, and that to increase the odds that we can deliver on the orders already promised, and to reduce the odds that we do not have to cancel any orders already created, we must close sold orders for the 2022 model year BRZ. And the Subaru spokesperson, though, did note that there will still be some non-pre-sold dealer stock cars coming in. So if you are someone who hasn't placed an order yet for a BRZ and you want one, I don't know what the dealers are going to do with markups, but it sounds like there will at least be a few normal dealer stock orders that will still be out there floating around. You might be able to snag one of those if you haven't placed an order yet. But this is just extremely good news. I'm just so glad. I mean, I thought that, they did all the right stuff with the BRZ. I loved it whenever I reviewed it, last summer into the fall there. It was so much fun. And honestly, if I could find a way to justify another two-door hardtop manual transmission rear-wheel drive sports car in addition to the Bullet, I would totally have had an order in for a new BRZ. I just can't justify it, but they are that good, and I'm so glad that so many of you, I've seen a few commenters say they've ordered them. I'm so glad. I really, really hope that this sends a strong signal to Toyota and Subaru that there is still demand for the pure, lightweight sports cars of manual transmissions, and they don't have to have 1,000 horsepower to get people's attention. I'm so excited to hear this, and I really hope that demand continues beyond just the first model year here, and that it continues to have strong demand here for several years going forward. But anyway, that was just to me, that's the best news of the week, that the new BRZ has been a sales success. Anytime that happens with, a very, low volume sports car like this, it just makes me want to do cartwheels. I'm so happy. So very exciting to hear that. But yeah, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please continue to stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.